Now, this is breaking news from the WCCO Live Desk on CBS News Minnesota.
Breaking news from the Live Desk, I'm Maria Lizignoli. Any minute now, officials at Toronto Pearson International Airport will be holding a news conference. You see right now, microphones set up at the podium there at the airport. We're waiting for people to take the podium to answer some questions and give updates after a Delta plane coming from Minneapolis flipped upside down after a crash landing at the Toronto airport. All 80 people on board were evacuated, and so far we know 3 people are in the hospital in critical condition, including 1 child and 2 adults. 15 others have minor or moderate injuries. We will take you live to this news conference as soon as it starts. But I want to show you some video from the airport shortly after that plane crashed. Take a look at this. Now, Delta Airlines say a plane flipped upon arrival at Toronto's Pearson Airport, ending up on its roof, as you see here. The airport confirmed on X that the incident occurred with the Delta flight from Minneapolis and that 76 passengers and 4 crew members were accounted for. They say it happened around 2:15 p.m. and flights at the airport, which handles more passengers than any other Canadian airport, were grounded for around 2.5 hours. So video from the scene, as you can see here, shows this CRJ 900LR upside down on this snowy tarmac as emergency crews worked to clean it up. Earlier, they were hosing it down after, as you can see here, this is helicopter video showing crew members hosing down this burning plane. The plane, kind of obscured a bit here by the snow that hit Toronto over the weekend. Reports said they got around 7 inches of snow over the weekend in Toronto, and conditions during the actual crash were quite windy. Meteorologists say that there was a lot of blowing snow and winds of 32 miles per hour, gusting up to 40 miles per hour. And we also know that according to audio recorded from the tower at Toronto Pearson International Airport, the flight was cleared to land about 2:10 p.m. The tower warns the pilots of a possible airflow bump in the glide path as the plane comes into land because of a preceding aircraft that was in front of it. But the CEO of aviation safety, a consulting firm, he said it's very rare to see something like this. Let me show you kind of exactly what he's talking about. This is video from a passenger who was on this plane shortly after he evacuated. You can see right on the left-hand side of your screen people coming out of this airplane as they're evacuated. They're hosing it down. You can see the wings are gone, and so is the tail. And the CEO of an aviation safety consulting firm said it's very rare to see conditions like this. It's very rare to see a plane on its back. Let me find his exact quote here. We have seen a couple cases of takeoffs, he says, where airplanes have landed up inverted, but it's pretty rare. And now this CEO of this firm worked for 25 years and worked on NTSB investigations. And he said that these aircrafts are a proven aircraft that's been in service for decades and does a good job of handling inclement weather. He says, quote, the weather conditions were windy and the wind was out of the west at 27 to 35 knots, which is about 38 miles per hour. So it was windy, but the airplanes are designed and certified to handle that. The pilots are trained and experienced to handle that, end quote. We are still standing by as we wait for a press conference to begin at the Toronto Pearson International Airport. And we also know that from the hospital that some patients were sent to in Toronto, we know that they just gave us a statement. They said William Osler Health System confirms that in collaboration with Toronto Emergency Services, a small number of patients were brought to the Etobicoke General Hospital for care as a result of the incident that took place this afternoon at Toronto Pearson International Airport. Out of respect for patient privacy, they cannot comment on the condition of the patients, but they can assure that the team is providing world-class care to their patients. Now, we are standing by waiting for this press conference to begin.
12, 10, 11, 9, 8.
They're doing
5,
mic checks here,
8.
as you can see.
Testing, testing, testing.
Testing all out. Oh, we also have new information here. We'll bring this to you live as soon as this begins, but we do have new information. One pediatric patient was transported to the hospital for sick children in Toronto with critical injuries. That's according to CCLA. One male patient in his 60s has been transported to St. Michael's Hospital in Toronto with critical injuries via helicopter. And then one female patient in her 40s was transported to Sunnybrook Health Sciences Center in Toronto with critical injuries via helicopter, and that is all according to first responders. They're based in Toronto. Let me see. I want to make sure that we're not missing anything here. Okay, we're still awaiting officials to get to the podium there at the Toronto Pearson International Airport. We now know that 18 people, according to Delta, have had confirmed injuries. 3 of those people are in critical condition, including 1 child. And we also know that one of the other patients in critical condition is a man in his 60s and a woman in her 40s, as well as that child who was transported to the Children's Hospital. We did have we were checking in on conditions here in Minneapolis as that Delta plane was coming from Minneapolis going to Toronto. So we had David Schumann go to the Minneapolis airport here and speak with patients as well, or with customers as well as Delta, in hopes to gain more information. So let's check in with him to see what he said earlier this afternoon from the Minneapolis St. Paul International Airport.
Maria, we just arrived at MSP Airport and immediately we came to the departures board. We wanted to see what other flights are going to Toronto tonight, and you can see up there 2 flights have been canceled, one with Air Canada and one with Korean Air / WestJet. Now, when we first arrived, that Delta flight in the middle wasn't there, but it looks like Delta has added a flight at 7 o'clock tonight, just before 7 o'clock, that appears to be on time. And you also have 2 flights scheduled to come into MSP from Toronto today. One from Delta, supposed to land in the 4 o'clock hour. That has been canceled according to the board. There's a second flight coming in that was delayed by about 2 hours. So we're here at the airport. We've reached out to a spokesperson with the airport, haven't heard back. Delta is referring us to their website for all updates. We're working to find people that are maybe leaving for Toronto, because you can imagine that you might have a family member of someone who was on board who might want to get to Toronto tonight, and now it looks like there is a flight for them on Delta. And we're also going to be hopefully speaking with passengers coming in from Toronto about what they saw, if they know of anything about what happened. So we will keep you updated through all of our newscasts. For now, David Schumann with WCCO News at MSP Airport.
All right, David, thank you. We're continuing to follow this throughout the night. In fact, we are waiting, for those of us just tuning in, for a press conference to start in Toronto from officials. You can see someone here. I think they're doing mic checks as they wait for officials to come and give us an update live from the Toronto Pearson International Airport. If you are just tuning in, we are constantly getting new information. We did just get a statement from Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey. He says, quote, "My thoughts are with those who've been injured and experienced this terrifying situation." He says, "Thank you to the emergency crews who responded quickly to the scene. I'm in direct contact with our local airport officials as we continue to gather more information." I want to show you some video of the plane shortly after it crashed in Toronto. If I pull this up here, you can see right here, this is after the fire had gone out, That is the back of the plane there. The tail has blown off, so have the wings. And we know it is quite remarkable that there were no fatalities in this plane crash. Especially for a plane, you see images like this where the plane is literally flipped onto its back. And coming off of quite a scary month, we know that just 3 weeks ago, on January 29th, the commercial jetliner and an Army helicopter collided near the nation's capital. We also heard we heard from the former NTSB director earlier today in a CBS News special report. So let me show you what he had to say.
Always in all the investigations, NTSB will send up a multidisciplinary team. So you'll have people from operations, you'll have air traffic control, you'll have structures and engineering people, you'll have recorder people, and they may not all be on site, but they will gather all of this information. Meteorology, I think, is quite possibly going to play a significant part in this. As you noted, the wind gusts were over 40 miles an hour. And if it's not pretty much down the runway, and even if it is down the runway, that's going to introduce the possibility of some element of wind shear. And this is a different kind of wind shear than what we have related to thunderstorms, but rapid changes in wind direction and speed. And that makes it extremely challenging for the pilots to put the aircraft on the ground. And they have parameters in which they operate. And if it's too much, then they have to divert to a different runway or perhaps even a different airport.
We know weather conditions were windy and cold in Toronto at the time of the crash. Let me pull up some of those weather conditions here. This is what happened around 1 p.m., time of the crash in Toronto. It was 16 degrees Fahrenheit, feels like -5 degrees Fahrenheit. Wind gusts 32 to 40 miles per hour. And Toronto got quite a lot of snow over the weekend. They had a big snowstorm and had up to 7 inches of snow. And with this kind of wind, that snow was blowing around quite a bit. We don't know whether or not that led to this crash, but you know, the Canadian NTSB is leading this investigation, and that will definitely be something they're going to be looking into. Let me show you again the images from a passenger on this plane that he took right after he was evacuated. It is wild to see. Let me pull this up. Okay, yes, check this out. You know, something like this is just so scary to see, especially considering that this is really the 4th major aviation mishap in North America in just the past month. You might remember back on January 29th, a commercial jetliner and an Army helicopter collided near the nation's capital, killing 67 people. Then a medical transportation plane crashed in Philadelphia on January 31st, killing 6 people on board and another person on the ground. And 10 also were killed in a plane crash in Alaska. It is so lucky and thankful that there were no initial reports of fatalities here. However, we do know there are 3 people still in critical condition in Canada tonight. One of those being a child, one being a 60-year-old male, and then a 40-year-old female. And 18 people, according to Delta, were injured in some way in this crash. They say, though, that besides those 3, the other injuries were minor or moderate. Many people are giving out statements here. We know that Minnesota Representative Pete Stauber says, I'm praying for those involved and will continue to monitor the situation as details emerge. Representative Angie Craig says, I'm closely monitoring the situation in Toronto and keeping all those on board in my thoughts. Minnesota Representative Tom Emmer says, Jackie and I are praying for the passengers and crew who were aboard Flight 4819 and are pleased to see initial reports that no lives have been lost. I know we also heard from just in the last couple minutes, Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey. He says, quote, my thoughts are with those who have been injured and experienced this terrifying situation. Thank you to the emergency crews who were responding quickly to the scene. I'm in direct contact with our local airport officials as we continue to gather more information. And as you can see here, we are still waiting for that news conference to happen here in Toronto. We are going to take a quick break now. Our news at 6 starts in about 13 minutes, so tune in for that. We'll be sure to bring you the very latest that comes out of this news conference right to you when it happens. For now, I'm Maria Lizignoli, live in the WCCO newsroom at the Live Desk.
Right now, a blast of bitter cold has us under a next weather alert. It is tough to even be outside with dangerously cold wind chills in the double digits. And we are not out of the woods just yet. Our next weather team is tracking this deep freeze. Lisa Meadows joins us now. Lisa, the wind is making it worse.
Yes, definitely. This morning we had a wind chill value of 36 below zero out at MSP, but the overall temperature is just very cold. Let's check in with our WCCO Next Weather Watcher reports when it comes to the overnight lows, and this is air temp in Otter Tail, 24 below zero, Wadena 22 below zero, Sunrise, Minnesota 18 below zero. Those are just some of those numbers. At MSP we did drop below zero earlier this morning, so you tally them up and that makes it our 9th day in the month of February that we were at or below zero. Today we had 12 in January and 4 in December. Total is 25 for the season. 22 is the average each year, so we are above that. Now, we did start off the month of February on a warm note. Notice the first 3 days were above average, even 20 degrees above average on February 2nd. Then we dropped off and we have not recovered. Look at all these days that we were below average, making the month so far about 6 degrees below average. Now, between the extreme cold warnings that we had this morning and coming up here tonight, this is where we sit now. We do have a cold weather advisory for these locations until 9 p.m. The counties there in the blue off to the south, but once we hit 9 p.m., that's when that gets jumped up to that warning.
And here back in Minnesota, we're still under an extreme cold warning. It looks like a nice evening in Duluth, though, but it is still below zero right now. So at least the sun is shining, Chris.
Yeah, I'll take our weather over all the stuff we see everywhere else.
Right?
Yes, it's cold and it's dangerously cold, but we're smart enough to know to take it easy. Yeah, exactly. I felt it this weekend. I was pumping gas yesterday, and the credit card thing wasn't working very well. I get it. It's cold, and my hands were cold as well. This is what's going on out there right now. Not only is it cold, but you factor any wind. And fortunately, it's not very windy out there, but it doesn't take much wind when the air is as cold as it is. But it feels like 22 below out there right now on exposed skin. The actual air temperature is 3 below. We have spent the full day below zero today, and it gets worse before it gets better as we drop down tonight. Single digits below zero, not for long. Our temperatures are going to plummet, and that's why our next weather tower is flashing blue, because it's dangerously cold out there already and will get worse by tomorrow morning. 3 below showed you that. There's the wind coming from the northwest at 13. Fortunately, it's not coming at 20 or 25, or we'd really be feeling it. Another head scratcher. There's going to be more snow falling and accumulating in Kansas and Missouri than here. But look at the high pressure, just keeping any snow away, keeping the clouds away, and that's going to allow the temperatures to plummet. Next weather alert. It's going to roll on through the night tonight, possibly into tomorrow as well, because this cold air is going to stick around for a while, and it could feel like 30 to 50 below when you take the air temperature and any hint of wind. This is a very widespread extreme cold warning. It's not an advisory, it's a flat-out warning that covers every county in the state of Minnesota into western Wisconsin, back into the Dakotas. Bottom line, bundle up if you're spending any time outside, and if you can avoid it, I would, because we'll fall back to 17 below by tomorrow morning. That's the actual air temperature. And look at the 20-some below actual thermometer readings by tomorrow morning. Factor in the wind, it will be more like 30 to 35 below around the Twin Cities. Parts of northern Minnesota could feel 40 to 50 below. Now, it gets slightly better with each passing day, and I mean slightly. There's no snow in this forecast, and there aren't very windy days. We'll have plenty of sunshine, so it looks good. And tomorrow we should jump above zero. Pretty sad knowing that the average high now is 30 this time of year, but we'll take that over a sub-zero day like today. And by the time we get to Wednesday, we'll see single digits above zero in northern Minnesota. I think we're still in the single-digit range, but close to the double digits. Still well below average, but some sunshine and slight improvement. And you'll see some cold air down across southern Minnesota for highs on Wednesday as well. I'm going to jump you ahead of the weekend because this will make you smile. By Saturday, a high near 30, which will feel great. 39, which will feel awesome on Sunday. That will be our first day above average high and above freezing in like 19 days by the time we get there. It's been a long wait. So the next weather alert rolls on. Bundle up tomorrow morning. It's going to be dangerously cold, and there's your slow and steady improvement. Again, this forecast lacks any snow. The air is so dry and so cold that's settled in over us. But by Monday, I think we're in the 40s, Amelia, which will be above average. We'll be melting some snow, little hints of spring.
No, we'll take it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Well, the temperatures is chilly. Experts and Chris Sheffer say that frostbite can happen in just minutes. Our Barrett Leone shares how you can stay safe in this extreme cold.
As temperatures drop,
it's really easy to underestimate how cold it is.
Emergency room visits at HCMC rise.
We've seen a couple for patients with frostbite that came in last night.
ER Dr. Thomas Masters anticipates that number to spike in the next couple of days.
It's very preventable. And you just have to take the appropriate precautions.
To stay out of the hospital, Dr. Masters says to bundle up in dry layers, stay hydrated, and overall stay inside if you can.
Now, we might be tough Minnesotans, but doctors here at HCMC say the cold doesn't discriminate, which is why it's important to layer up, because frostbite can happen in a matter of minutes.
Everyone always wonders, how long does it take for this to happen? And there's really not a great answer for that. The colder it is, the faster it'll set up.
Masters says pain, discoloring, and numbness are signs you may be a victim.